I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Monday, May the 8th, brought to you in part by Macrocin by Bimeda. Macrocin is a bold, straight shooting, affordable telithromycin or generic Draxxin injection with no BS. It does what it's expected to do and what it's supposed to do for you, for your cattle, and for your bottom line. For more information, go to macrocin.com. Also, Joplin Regional Stockyards, another big run for them. 10,000 expected. They're going to get started early. They're going to start the sale at 5 o'clock in the morning. They'll be on the bunches good by 6:30 or 7 for sure. They don't start in the middle of the day and then sell all night. They start early and get done at a reasonable time. But Joplin is growing, especially of late. You heard me say last week that receipts are up over 35% for the year. We know there's fewer cattle. They're stealing them from somebody, but they get the market for the cattle. And like I've said before, that's all you can expect, but you should be able to expect that. You can get it there at Joplin Regional Stockyards in Carthage, Missouri. Lower supplies and lower prices on the fat cattle is what I'm talking about. That goes against every solid fundamental, goes against every economic rule and law. But that's the way we are whenever the board plays such a big role in the trade. And when you've got a $12 basis, like we have right now for your June live cattle, the board's just broken. It's completely set up for the shorts. Which, you know, a lot of your hedgers like it that way, and it has a decent basis there. That helps them reach their break-evens at times. But we lose our market position, so we don't ever really know what the market could be, you know, on you know, the supply and demand balance there to find out what the market really should be, because you've got this, this outside obstacle that is messing with the trade. I don't expect us to hold the market this week. I would be surprised if we did. How can you expect the guys to just ignore a basis like that? And then they're going to jump at it. You know, and I want to tell them, hey, if you hold out another day or two and get more money for your cattle, the basis is even better for you. But somebody's going to jump at it. There'll be several of them probably do it. The packers are going to be out looking for cattle on a Tuesday, at least, maybe even here on Monday, because they're short of cattle. And what does that usually mean? When they're short of cattle, they're aggressive for cattle, come out earlier in the week, normally means higher prices. But when you got a broken board, you're in a bastard month like May that doesn't have a contract, your spot live cattle contract doesn't have to have anything to do with what the price of cattle are really worth, and it messes up your trade. It's going to happen again this week. Last week, your June, and the basis keeps growing. I know we're getting closer to fruition on it, but we're still so far away. You don't have to worry about anything like that. It's still growing. June live cattle lost $3.55 last week, and your fat cattle market lost $4.63. So, you know, we're going the wrong way here, guys. But just, you know, you can't expect too much until we get closer into June. And like I said, it's a shame that that board is not set up where somebody could demand delivery of the cattle. Yeah, you can tender for delivery, and you can demand those cattle at delivery when it comes time, but you can't demand delivery. If we could demand delivery on that futures contract, you might get some of your smaller regionals or some of these startup plants that would go in there and go along and demand delivery, especially when you can't buy cattle that cheap. They would do it if they would. Now, your big boys would never do that, your big packers, because that would support the market if they went in there and went long or bought the board, and they would never do that. But some of your smaller ones would, and that's the only thing that's kept this thing viable to even do anyway, is your regional packers and some of your small packers. But your grading percentage for April, the week ending April the 22nd, still really high. Nationwide, your cattle are still grading over 83% choice and prime. You think, my God, that sounds awfully good. Yeah, it is awfully good. Nebraska is about 86%. Kansas is over 83%. Texas, not nearly as good, but over 70% choice and prime. And you think, my gosh, well, I didn't realize it was that good. Well, 25 years ago, whenever I was working in the market news office in Amarillo, Texas for USDA, our cattle graded about 45%. Your Texas cattle fell in that 35 to 65% choice. Yeah, well, has the cattle gotten that much better? Well, genetics have gotten some better, and people have started focusing on marbling more. But in the last 15 years, it's been your camera grading that's improved that. You don't have a person standing there grading those carcasses anymore. You have somebody that works for the plant taking a picture of those ribbed carcasses there with a machine, with a tool that they own. And they get out of whack pretty quick. They lose calibration there. There's been talk about USDA meat grading being able to go in there and do spot checks and audit those more often. I haven't heard about that in a while. Don't know how often they're doing it, but it's not often enough. And even your meat grading supervisors will tell you that the cattle aren't grading that good. And some of these smaller startup plants, like I've been telling you about, that maybe only kill 20 a week or 50 a week or something like that, they wish they could afford one of those cameras too, because they're having people standing there grading the carcasses. They're grading them like they should, and their cattle aren't grading as well. Let's talk about your board for last week. June live cattle futures. Monday was down 60, Tuesday down $1.97, Wednesday down $1.25, Thursday down 7 cents, and Friday up 35 cents. A little bit of profit taking there. With June live cattle ending the week at 161.92, down 3.55. August ended the week at 159.50, down 4.27. It's hard to believe that our fat cattle market is going to be under 160 when we still got cattle in your fat cattle auctions selling over $1.80. May feeder cattle, Monday was down $1.27, Tuesday was down $3.75, Wednesday down $2.52, Thursday back up 22 cents, and Friday down another $1.12. May feeder cattle ended the week at 202.52, which is still a premium to what your cash index levels are, because your feeder market was down a bunch this past week. But losing $8.45, your May spot feeder cattle. Your real-time index lost a little over $4 this past week. But August feeder cattle ended the week at $221.42, nearly $10 cheaper than it was just a little over a week ago. So, those cattle, losing the bigger part of $100 a head coming off of grass this late summer and fall. And what has changed in the last week? Absolutely nothing, other than the leverage and the momentum has changed back into the Packers' favor. Fat cattle trade through Thursday, 67,900. Several cattle there trading lower. Your live sales of steers and heifers in your 5-area feeding region were 170 to 179. That was just a buck lower, but the weighted average is nearly $5 lower, between $4.50 and $5 lower, up through Thursday of last week at 173.98. A lot more cattle trading lower into the price range, and a lot more cattle trading in the Southern Plains at the lower prices. So your 5-area weighted average is going to be more lower than what you would expect just on your price trend there. But dress sales 278 to 281, $3 to $5 lower. Your weighted average on dress steers was 280.95, down 322. So we lost a big hunk last week. Third week in a row there that we saw losses. Friday we had a little bit of trade, not much. Iowa sold about 1,000 head, confirmed 22,600 head for the week. Live price from 174 to 175. Nebraska, less than 100 cattle sold on Friday, 18,200 for the week. The only price they quoted on Friday was 279 dressed. About 600 in Kansas, and nearly 15,000 sold in Kansas last week. live price 171. The bulk of the cattle in the Southern Plains traded a buck lower at 172, and then your late sales were another buck lower than that at 171. Texas didn't have any sales on Friday, but nearly 14,000 for the week, which is huge for them. Box beef cutout values higher for the week, but not much. Weighted average on all of last week's choice cut sales was 309.41. That was up just 11 cents from the weighted average from the previous week. That's about as close to steady as you can get. Your late week sales Friday afternoon were about 20 cents cheaper than that, but not much, 309.19. So holding pretty steady there on your box beef cutout values. Selects, your weighted average on all of last week's sales, 288.49, which was pretty steady, or up just 15 cents per hundred for the week compared to the previous week's weighted average, and late week sales were only about 30 cents cheaper than that. Nearly a $21 choice select spread, and that's based on 514 loads of cuts, grinds, and trimmings. Your slaughter for the week last week, 623,000, and we always think the light slaughter is bearish. Actually, I think it's bullish because your packers are short on supplies. The carcasses are lighter. They've got a big demand this time of year for the product, and then they're not able to step up the kill, and they've got everybody buffaloed into thinking this market needs to be cheaper. 623,000, that's one less than the previous week, 38,000 less than the same week a year ago. Your Saturday kill is just nothing. 10,000 head estimated this last Saturday, was 22,000 the previous week on a Saturday, and 50,000 the same week a year ago. Talk about your feeder cattle market. Your real-time index on DV auction ended the week at $200.98. That's $4.08 a hundred, down from the end of the previous week. So we lost quite a bit of ground. Cash feeders in your sale barns, $2 to $4 lower, but stockers and weaned calves still higher, especially a true stocker. If you had some calf weight yearlings there, kind of old crop looking or hard wintered, I mean, they're $6 to $8 higher in some of your bigger sales there, guys. Still a lot of stocker demand, especially for as dry as it is, and it is super dry everywhere. Getting kind of scary up in Nebraska and places in the Midwest. It's so dry. It's dry in southern Iowa. Many places in Missouri are terrible dry. Kansas is a wreck. Texas is dry for the most part too. It's just really dry around, and if it doesn't start off raining here the next 6 weeks, then we're getting into the summertime, and it is going to be terrible. But talk about some of your big sales late last week or over the weekend. One on your National Beef Wire stick-out sale of the day was one that we don't talk about very often, but they had one hell of a sale on Friday. My friend Eric Dries, auctioneers there, he was telling me a little bit about it, but Montana Livestock Auction in Ramsey, Montana had 2,200 head of feeders there on Friday. You look at this automated market report through Cattle Market Central, look at your best tested weights. 469 head of 5-weight steer calves in Ramsey, Montana, average 555, with a weighted average price on all of them of $289.21. Are you kidding me? They had one group in there, 103 head, that weighed 503, bring $309.50. Competitive bidding in an auction sale, guys. 241 head of 6-weight steers average 643, average price 257.87. On some heifers, 376 head of 5-weight heifer calves. Montana Livestock Auction average 549 pounds, weighted average price 244.19, and 244 head of 6-weight heifers average 648, average price 216.89. Give you some individual quotes from all around. Here's one you might want to get in on. Santa Teresa Livestock Auction. That's on DV Auction, guys. The end of every week there. 1,600 head. Had a good run on there, guys. They're getting more cattle into that auction. A lot of them do sell private treaty over the border there, but these cattle are over the border. They've been processed. The auction's on this side of the border. Those cattle are ready to go. You can tune into DV Auction. You can get approved, you can bid on those cattle, arrange for the trucking, and you've got them. And this past weekend you could have bought 83 steers, weighed 550 pounds, cost $218, which is pretty reasonable after I talked about those ones in Montana. How about Wahoo Livestock Sales? Wahoo, Nebraska, another DV auction broadcaster. 64 head of steers, weighed 809, bring 204. That's a pretty good clip these days. How about Edina, Missouri? Edina Livestock, another DV auction broadcaster there. 59 steers, weighed 909 at 196.75. But the best quote that I heard anywhere late last week or over the weekend, and it was our stick out sale. It was Montana Livestock Auction, Ramsey, Montana. Your Mackerson no BS top quote for the day. 52 steer calves, weighed 568 at 304 1/4. And that's your feeder flash for Monday.